Al Reynolds is the candidate in Illinois' 52nd district for the Republicans. He also considers himself a Tea Party candidate. And he is now being asked by Republican Party leaders in central Illinois to resign. Why is his own party asking him to resign? Well, because of a fascinating theory that Al Reynolds has on young black men and their proclivity for drugs and sports. Let's go to clip number 7, find out what his interesting thoughts are.
I've been in the city, and the dichotomy of the women and the men in minorities. There's a difference in the fact that most minority women, be they a single parent or coming from a poor neighborhood, are motivated more so than the minority men. And it's a very good reason. Most of the women who are single parents or not have to find work to support their family. The minority men find it more lucrative to be able to do drugs or other avenues rather than do education. It's easier. We need to provide ways that are more incentive other than just sports avenues for the men, for the minorities, to want to go to college and get an education and better themselves. The poor women have to support them all.
One of my favorite things about that is that he said, I've been to the city. Well, that would, of course, make you an expert on the state of minority women and men, of course. It's true. I was in Wichita once, and I'm an absolute expert on Wichita, Kansas. Okay. So, let's get to the heart of it. Look, here's the thing, right? If he had said, look, there's a disparity in the education numbers between minority women and minority men, that's actually true. And if he said, let's look into why that might be the case, and let's have a reasonable and smart discussion about that, that's great. I encourage that. I don't discourage that. Just because you go into that discussion doesn't mean, oh my God, sound the alarms. Okay, everybody's a racist. No. But if you assume that black men are not getting an education because they just find drugs more lucrative, and that the only other thing that interests them is sports, are you with me when I say those are gross generalizations, perhaps stereotypes? Look, do some young black kids want to go in the NBA? Yeah. Do some young white kids want to go in the NBA or in the NFL? I think so. Okay, a lot of us do, right? Doesn't work out that way. Now, do a great majority of the black men have jobs that are not in sports or drugs? Yes. And I get the sense from seeing Al Reynolds there that I'm not sure he knows that. That's the problem. It's not to say that drugs isn't a problem in the inner city, and the fact that it's such a lucrative trade isn't a problem. It is. I just need you to have a smart discussion about it, not one that is, well, not so smart. Let's just put it kindly. JR?
Well, I think that's the problem. Whenever people have this type of ignorance about it, like you said, I've been to the city once. When you have that kind of ignorance about it, you either, my assumption about this guy is, doesn't care to fix it, or if you want to fix it, you haven't even looked into it enough to see why it's happening to come up with the right solution to it. So either way, you really don't care. You're like, yeah, that's just where they are.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking, why do they do these things?
I'm a little confused, though. How come you're here instead of playing sports? It's weird. On the other hand, you got to give him credit. He gave some props to minority women. They're more educated. Always looking at the bright side here.